Okay. Hey everybody, welcome back to Check Out This Flick. Today I'm syncing up with my buddy Alex out from New York. He is a photographer and a filmmaker, but I will let him talk a little bit about himself. Go for
Hey
it.
guys, happy to be here. Honored to be joining Check Out This Flick for Phantom of the Opera.
Yes. All right. So, yep, as Alex just said, we're going to talk about Phantom of the Opera 1989 with Robert Englund and Jill Sholin, directed by Dwight H. Little.
Woo!
Yeah, so Alex and I synced up to watch this movie the other night, and it was interesting. For sure. It was a little different than I thought it was going to go, but just before we get into it, this is also going to be a spoiler conversation. The movie has been out for decades, so if you haven't seen it, better get on it.
And the story has been out for almost a century.
Yeah, 1909. So yeah,
Yeah.
when the original book came out.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this is an adaptation of the book, mostly from I think what my understanding, and the book apparently is a little more darker, and they definitely lean into that. So, but they also took a number of liberties with this adaptation for sure. Like the beginning of the story starts out in 1980s New York with our main character Christine getting into an audition, and kind of just goes off from there. Yeah. Well, what are your kind of thoughts, I guess, generally on the story and how it played out?
I guess I should talk a little bit about like my background with Phantom of the Opera, but like when I was a kid, my sister and I would put on like performances of Phantom of the Opera, and it just was kind of fun thing to do. I always loved the musical growing up, the Andrew Lloyd Webber musical,
Mm.
which debuted in 1986. So I was a few years ahead of this. And I remember as a kid just seeing the box art for the VHS in like Blockbuster or video stores, and just the cover is really badass. And I think it was something that I mean, look at that, that's iconic. But that was something I think that actor Robert Englund didn't like very much because it's very Freddy Krueger. And I think, I mean, we'll get into it, but there's a lot of Freddy in his performance a little bit, but there also isn't. It's wild that how often do you see a main title for a Phantom of the Opera movie going across like the Hudson River up to the World Trade Center, Twin Towers,
Right, yeah.
and that's when the title appears. And how many other Phantom of the Opera films can you think of that has that? That was weird. That was crazy. And then you follow Christine into this, I guess, library because she goes to meet her friend first to like
Right.
prep for the audition, right? She has like the music she's looking for, and her friend is played by Molly Shannon.
A very young Molly Shannon,
Yeah,
indeed.
from what I understand, that was Molly's first role in the film. So and then she does this audition, and so far at this point in the movie, I'm just like, oh, okay, this is very different. Where's this going? And that's like one thing overall I'll give the film points for is it really tries to do something different. It breaks from tradition, and some ways it works, some ways it does not. But once she gets to the audition, things take a turn.
Yeah, it goes very much from like modern day to the past, and they
Yeah.
don't really explain it, but
Well,
somehow she gets like knocked out, and her like consciousness goes into the past or something to like an old ancestor of herself, I think.
Yeah, it's not explained how she's knocked back into the past, or if it's like if she's a reincarnation. This is like a shared past memory, almost
Yeah.
like a Nux to the Moon from the Mummy movies or whatever.
Mhm.
But like a stagehand in present day New York in the theater, like something falls and almost like decapitates her, like it just misses her and
Yeah.
it cracks like a mirror behind her, and somehow I guess the force or momentum of something. I don't remember exactly, but she like twists and falls, and then it goes into this crazy transition. And then when she like is done twisting and falling, she
Yeah.
wakes up on the stage floor in the past, and
Yes,
like
in London.
18 in London, right? So that's a
Yeah.
big shift because in most Phantom of the Operas, even in traditional Phantom of the Operas, it takes place in France. That's where the theater is. That's where they, because Gaston Leroux was French, who wrote the original novel. But yeah, they move it to London here. And I was gonna say was like, oh, even though it's in France, everybody speaks with like a French accent, which is, or sorry, everyone speaks with a British accent,
Yeah.
which is weird. But they're in London here, so that there's no qualms or confusion about that.
Right. Yeah. So from there, it goes into like the company that she's a part of, and it turns out that Christine is a part of this production, but she is like a backup actor to the main actress, and we go from there.
Carlotta, yeah.
Yeah, and not too far into it, that we get introduced to Eric the Phantom, and oh boy, yeah, there's a number of things that obviously they changed about him. Like he moves like the wind. He has like super soldier strength, and he has a love for music so strong and sends him to a murderous rampage.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
These are very classic Eric Phantom of the Opera traits. Like he's always obsessed with the music. He's obsessed with Christine's performance. He lives under the opera house. He wants the best performances possible at the opera house. He's usually like a disgraced musician, not just physically, but like someone stole his work in another film and another film. That's always like something that happens. Like he's wronged and he wants revenge on the world, and he happens to be have a very good handle on theatricality and deception. So maybe he studied with Ra's al Ghul. I don't know.
Yeah.
And and he's able to move in and out of shadows, and he knows like the layout of the opera house better than anybody.
Right.
And they reveal him. I think I remember talking about this when we watched it, but like pretty quickly. Like the first time, like there's some mystery, but like you see his face pretty quickly.
Right. Yeah, and that was kind of a little. Not a debate, but we were talking about how he actually they just straight up like show his face, and he doesn't wear a mask, and that was something that they changed altogether. Is like he literally, I think, wears a mask in one scene, right, at the ball later in the movie.
Masquerade, yeah. So Phantom always has an iconic mask, and like in the Andrew Lloyd Webber, it's the white mask. It's like half face. Other interpretations, it's more like full face. But yeah, so I went into this looking at the poster thinking, okay, he's gonna have like a cool like skull Phantom mask variation, which he only wears in the masquerade scene. But I'm sure like we'll get into it. But like there's more to the Phantom's mask in this movie than like other interpretations, which is interesting.
Yeah. So they kind of first introduce Eric, and he kind of looks a little disfigured, but they're showing his face.
Yeah.
And you can tell he's a little messed up. You don't really know why. But somebody disgraces or talks mad smack about Christine, and he gets a little angry at that person and decides to do away with them pretty quickly. Yeah, that bit was pretty funny.
There's the stagehand who is like getting drunk on the job. He's got a flask in his hand, and he's working high up above the stage. Mm-hmm. And, it's really funny because the Phantom just kind of appears very casually, and the guy isn't like off-put. And like traditionally, when I think the stagehand always gets killed in most of the other stories, but like traditionally it's like a big moment because it's like, oh shit, like the Phantom is Rio, it's a legend, and he just kind of appears here. He's very casual.
Yeah, he's just like, give me, how about your drink? Like, let me have your drink. Shares a drink with him real quick, asks him a couple questions, and then kind of just drops him off from the high up rafters and stuff like that. Oh man, pretty funny stuff. But anyway, what was that?
The kill is wild of the stagehand.
Right, yeah. You don't know exactly what happens to him until a little later when the main actress is taking a bath, and we're introduced to Bill Nye, who is in this movie. A very young Bill Nye, who is one of the owners of the theater. And he's talking to the main actress, and he leaves, and she gets out of the bath after he freaking says he can drown her in it. Oh my god, do you remember that? He's like, I can drown you so quickly. Drown it.
And he leaves, and then the camera like moves in on him outside her doors, and he's like, bitch, and he walks away.
Right, yeah, he's just like, oh, this bitch. But she gets out of the tub and goes to her
her like
that
wardrobe or
closet,
dresser.
yeah, opens it up, and then there is the stagehand just skinned alive.
Yeah.
I think he is still a little bit alive in that moment.
Yeah, he comes alive, he like jump scares her.
Yeah, and then he like probably dies right after that. But
Yeah.
that whole bit was pretty amusing to me. Not necessarily scary, but I mean, he looked good. The skinning looked pretty decent.
Yeah.
The visual effects on him, yeah.
No, that was great. Yeah, so that's Carlotta. She's always like the diva. She's always like the main rival to Christine.
Right.
Another little change they made with Christine is that in most other interpretations, since it's French, she's Christine Daae. In this film, she's just Christine Day.
Christine
I don't
Day.
know why they chose to do that, but yeah, it's kind of funny. And yeah, the makeup team for this had worked with Robert Englund in the past. I think it's Kevin Yeager and Robert Kurtzman. They both worked on several Nightmare on the Elm Street series. So yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the best things about the movie. Like you said, when you see the stagehand skinned, the effects look really good.
Yeah, the gore is pretty good for sure. Yeah, and then we kind of just move along throughout the story. A number of things start happening where what was the main diva's name again?
Carlotta.
Carlotta decides not to do the opening night, so Christine ends up doing it.
Right.
And up in the main suite in the opera house, the Phantom lurks and watches.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he enjoys it pretty well. Yeah. Yeah, he's super happy about it.
He's not so happy though.
What was that?
Bill Nye is not so happy.
Oh no, yeah, Bill Nye is not happy about her singing at all, even though she does sing pretty well.
Sell tickets.
Yeah, she won't sell tickets. She's not a recognizable name, so
Right.
he's pretty pissed off. And there is a guy there from the paper who does reviews. Yeah, right. And they want to have a good review, but they don't want her to perform again. So after the performance, Bill Nye's character, I have it here, Martin, connects with the guy who's doing the review and pretty much is just like, yeah, she's never going to sell tickets. So the show was good, but kind of slanders her name a little bit. And our boy, the Phantom, Eric, does not like that at all. Right? So, yeah, jump cut, a couple scenes, and he finds the guy where in like a steam room or something like that, right? Yeah. Yeah. And they have a little conversation about the performance, and the guy just doubled down, says that he did not like her performance, even though he kind of did like her performance, but he just
seemed like he did, like in the scene.
Yeah.
But then when he gets confronted by Eric, it's like, oh, actually, she was horrible, and I'll continue to say that it was like he says some pretty mean shit about her. Like he goes in.
So Eric gets away with him, and real quick after that bit, puts what? I don't even know how that death makes sense, because it's like puts a towel over his face.
She chokes him with a towel or something.
But like it's covering his face, and then like all of a sudden like his eyeballs start bleeding and stuff. So it's like, how does that make any sense? But whatever, super strength. That's what I'm telling you.
Yeah. Is this the scene where doesn't Eric go to like a brothel or something? Or is
that was right after the performance. Yeah, he kind of walks on into the night, finds a prostitute, goes into a brothel,
and he's like, "Tonight you are Christine."
Yeah, she's like, "Oh, my name is actually." He's like, "No, yeah, tonight you are Christine." That was too funny. Oh god, you called it. I mean, you called that bit. You remember when you said that? You were like, "He's probably gonna say this," and then he does literally say that.
Well, I didn't think he would say it verbatim, and then he throws her on the bed. He's like, "No, tonight you are Christine." Yeah. And he's like, I like the dark. He tries turning the candle on. He's like, no, I like it dark.
Dark. Blows out the candle. Oh, God.
Yeah.
And then right after that, before he does away with the critic, there is a nice little 3-death scene with these dudes who are trying to rob Eric.
Oh yeah, because they follow him from like the brothel, right? They
yeah.
They see him in the brothel, like, oh, this guy's got a lot of money.
Yeah.
What's about? And he's like, and the woman is like, leave him alone. And then they end up, one of them goes up to him,
right? They confront him
to engage him, and he's like, have we met before? And he's like, I would never forget a face.
Right? Yeah. Oh God. Oh man, and very much going off of how like there are moments where there is very much in the performance. There's like bits of Freddy in there. It's just like
Yeah,
those quips
he's
are
very
throughout the
quippy.
entire movie
You
for
call
sure.
some quips.
Yeah, and so anyway, these three dudes in
Yeah.
the middle of the night decide to follow him home, and
Hmm.
he murders them all in an alley.
Yeah.
And I recall when you were saying it that you really liked that whole sequence.
Yeah,
Yeah,
at that point, I'm like having fun with it, and I'm engaged in where it's going. But like, yeah, something. I mean, I think this is like one of the most action-packed sequences in the film so far. Because at this point, he's well, he hasn't killed the critic yet, I don't think, but he killed the sort of stagehand, and that was cool. And we saw
right.
the guy getting, the aftermath, the skinning. But like, yeah, this felt like almost. Not a different movie, but like you don't often see him get depicted, being jumped by three thugs, and he's basically almost like Batman or the Shadow or something.
Yeah.
He picks them up. He's very like vigilante. Almost, it was giving V for Vendetta a little bit too.
Ooh, that's a good call.
And he had a very shadow like he has a shadow like outfit in certain scenes because he covers his mouth with like a scarf, and he has like the hat, and he has like a cape thing,
Mm-hmm.
and he uses like the cape almost as like a weapon. Like he smothers one guy's face and he kills another dude. Like the way he takes them out is pretty
Yeah.
dastardly and brutal.
Yeah, he literally. I mean, they don't show it, even though apparently they did film it, but apparently it got
Yes,
taken out. But
I know.
the guy literally like slits his throat and like rips off his head,
Yeah,
and that would have been super cool to see. But unfortunately, you barely even see his throat get cut.
I
But
know.
but he does throw his head at the last goon guy, and
Love
it
it.
like rolls over to his feet, and then that's when you get like glimpses of how fast he is. I mean, there's
Yeah,
one point where he's like dropping down from the rooftops. All of a sudden, it's like, how
yeah,
did he get up there in a matter of seconds?
yeah. Yeah, I love. He does seem like more. He is like more superhuman or something.
Right.
Um, they're always kind of vague with like how supernatural he is and other interpretations. I mean, sometimes one interpretation, I think the Andrew Lloyd Webber version is like he was like a circus freak kid who was like held against his will and raised in like a terrible environment of a traveling circus,
Mm-hmm.
and then he escaped and like became somehow very musically gifted and trained in like the arts of deception and moving through shadows underneath the opera house, and so he's always been able to like move around very quickly, but you don't really see him do that outside of the opera house.
Right.
And he certainly doesn't ever like decapitate people with like he does it almost like one handed. He's able, like you said, move very quickly from point to point. And yeah, that was so it's like, oh, that's some Batman, Superman shit or something because he's so quick and he's so strong. Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
very
And
different.
in speaking of the supernatural aspect, they do a little
Right, right.
backstory for him, right, where he makes a deal with the devil,
Yeah, this like
essentially.
midget devil
Yeah, a little imp guy. I don't know.
who
And
I think gives him the scar.
right, he
He
touches
puts
his
his hand
face.
on his face.
Yeah, and that's how he becomes like horribly disfigured on part of his
Right.
face. Yeah, so you get a little of that, but it's not much. It's just like, okay, so he makes a deal with the devil, and they don't even go into
What was the
like
deal?
that his music is the only thing he'll ever be known for, and he'll never be known for anything else other than his music.
Hmm.
And somehow through that, even though they didn't say it, he's able to like live for very long as well. As long as his music is still alive, then he
Right.
he
Yeah.
can live. Um, yeah,
Hmm.
I mean they don't outright say that, but that's
No,
clearly what's happening. Yeah,
it's not really spelled out. Yeah, that's a unique origin, I think, as well for the Phantom character. You don't really see, as far as I know, him having that origin, especially
right,
from like an imp who is like gifted with satanic powers, and I don't know where they just cuts to them like hanging out in like some bar, right? And he's like
right,
playing the
yeah,
piano, and the imp is like, "Oh, where'd you get the music?" And then he makes a deal or something. But it's like,
right.
where is this happening? I don't know. It's very
Yeah, it's just a
very weird.
random flashback, and in the movie, it's just like, oh, okay, now we're flashbacking. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, but yeah, that bit was kind of amusing, and so yeah, he's just this weird supernatural phantom guy, and never really truly go into like how his powers really work. But the
Mm-mm.
story progresses. There is an awesome detective who
Like,
is God, what is his name? Terrence Harvey. He plays Inspector Hawkins,
yeah, Terrence Harvey.
and he was probably the best thing about that movie. I don't know. He, I think you were saying it. You're like, dude, this actor is really committed to the role, right? Yeah.
For the first time, he starts investigating the what's it called, the stagehand's death, right? The guy who got
Yeah.
skinned.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the second he enters the screen, the frame, he's just he has a different performance. Like it's very hardened. He's very focused. I don't know if that guy went on to do much after that, but yeah, the inspector performance was really good. And he has like a backup sidekick.
All right.
You said looked like Biff.
He looks like Biff. Well, I couldn't help it. Every time that dude was on the screen, I was like, Biff. Oh man.
So the investigator is investigating the murders at the Opera House.
Yes. So he comes in. He starts interviewing the love interest,
Oh, yes.
which is Richard Dutton, but the actor's name is Alex Hyde White.
Yes.
And a little fun fact about Alex Hyde White is that unreleased Fantastic Four movie from the
Yes, the
90s. Yeah, he played Mr. Fantastic.
I know that too, and I'm like, oh my fucking god, that's great.
It's
Yes.
like, what? All right, awesome. But anyway,
Fantastic.
yeah, he comes in as well. He's kind of sprinkled throughout, but he's kind of just like a lackluster character, huh?
Yeah, so Richard is normally in this film is a proxy for Raoul, who in almost every other interpretation of the story is like Christine's like love interest. Like they've known each other for years. They've had an on and off romantic thing that's very steamy, and he's always like the Phantom's like arch rival because he's vying for Christine's emotions and feelings. And yeah, but in this film, they changed his name to Richard instead of Raoul. And yeah, Richard is just very ineffectual. I would say this film really doesn't seem to care about the love triangle that's usually created between the three characters, which I'm fine for. I don't really enjoy. Nobody likes Raoul. Nobody's watching a Phantom thing because of Raoul and Christine. You know, they want the Phantom. But like, even so, it was super undercooked. And he's like, I think in most other interpretations, he's just like a rich donor who gives money to the theater. In this, I think he co-owns the theater with Bill Nighy, which is
Right.
weird too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. They do some weird things with Richard, but yes, Alex, Reed Richards, incredible.
Yeah, yeah. Probably a better performance. No, I'm joking. Anyway, but yeah, so we they have hints of that love triangle with the Phantom, just small hints. Richard wants to marry Christine. Christine's on the fence because she's like, well, my performance was actually pretty decent. I shouldn't get married now. But then she's also like, I have this angel that's teaching me the songs and coaching me to be better, which is the Phantom, our boy Eric. Yeah, there's a couple cool scenes with the both of them where he's kind of like lurking in the background using mirrors and stuff to talk to her and encouraging her. Yeah.
Through the fireplace.
Through the fireplace
And he
at one
has like,
point.
show outfit on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He's always like her angel of music.
Yeah, and he kind of like lures her into, I think the first time he lures her to a cemetery.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken.
I think
know
so.
At one point there was a trap door, but I think that was going down into the
later.
crypts. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they go into the cemetery, and he's like playing the violin and wooing her a little bit. And then that's where Richard sees them for the first time. And then he's like, oh no, like, Christine, don't go with him. But she's all kind of in this trance and gets into this carriage. And then that's when Richard realizes, like, the Phantom's real. Because at this point, he's kind of like this urban legend. Nobody really knows if he's actually an actual entity or anything like that yet. But he believes right after he sees, Eric woo her into the carriage and they take off. Yeah. I'm trying to think what else kind of unfolds around that point.
That's a great sequence. I thought the cemetery scene. I think yes, she always. So traditionally, like the story goes, like she is lured So traditionally, Carlotta's always in the way, but somehow something happens with Carlotta, and Christine ends up taking the stage. And most of the other interpretations, the crowd, everyone loves her performance.
Mm.
And the Phantom is like taking credit for some of that because he's been instructing her and teaching her and mentoring her. So then she's like in her dressing room, and the Phantom like visits her in the mirror, and they
Yeah,
have this
right.
big intro music scene, and somehow the door gets like supernaturally locked, and Raul, who's going to go down there and give her flowers and take her out to dinner, can't get into the door. So then the Phantom, this is what the whole big Phantom, like the main Phantom of the Opera song from the musical,
Mm.
plays because he leads her into the catacombs. They have a thing, big intro music. Sorry, I'm getting my songs mixed up, but there's a big song there. Then
Right.
later on, they end up in the cemetery where she goes to visit her father. So it's a similar iteration of that where she goes to visit her dad's grave, but this time he's like playing his violin, and he also does like a supernatural lock on like the
Oh,
gate,
the
which
gate. Yeah.
looks really bad because Richard can't open it, even though it's very clear. He just has to like lift the latch.
Yeah. And he's like, I can't do it. Christine, Christine. It's just like, oh god.
Yeah,
My
so
guy, lift the latch, man. Yeah.
yeah, I know. They could have done that a little bit better. That wasn't great, but yeah, it's cool because she's in like he's under the spell of the Phantom, and she goes into his like carriage, and he just like drives off.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
like demonic, has like red light inside the carriage, and I don't know. I thought that was a cool sequence. That was a fun one.
Yeah. Yeah. So speaking of, I guess the mirror bit, because jump
Mm,
cutting a little bit to that, because when they finally get into his like crypt underneath the
yeah,
opera house, it's pretty cool. I really like the set design for
yeah,
there.
the set design was incredible in the film overall.
Yeah, yeah, good call. And they pretty much partner up. Eric and Christine are talking. And he's just like, "You're the one. I want you to be the person who sings my music." He
Yeah.
sings a song that supposedly she shouldn't know, but it's the
Oh,
song from the opening sequence, and
right,
somehow she
right.
remembers it. So somehow
Yeah, it's
Christine
confusing.
remembers from the
Her
audition in the
future self.
80s. Yeah, she
Right,
remembers the lyrics to the song, even though she
right.
never heard it in the past.
It's
And he's
like,
like, "How did you know?"
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. They don't explain that. It's very hazy what the full origin of that is. But yeah, so Don Juan Triumphant
Yeah.
is always the work that Eric's the most proud of. It's like the one he's never been able to debut, but now that he has Christine, he can debut it with the best singer out there.
Right. Yeah.
And yeah, yeah. At this point, he seems right. So he takes her from the carriage right to the labyrinth, like his lair. Like you said, it's beautiful.
Hmm.
I love all the candlelight. Apparently, I think I read that Joe Sholin, the actress playing Christine, like caught fire because a candle like fell on her arm and shoulder. But the
Right.
director just urged her to keep going for two more takes. I don't know exactly how all that went down,
Yeah.
but
Oof.
yeah, the set was beautiful, and typically that's where they sing the music of the night song. So I guess they kind of had that little moment, but by the end of it, it's like, oh, okay, like they're in cahoots, and Christine seems to have it made from here on in.
Yeah. She, Eric pretty much puts a ring on her, and she's kind of under.
Right,
Right.
she
And he's like,
can't
"You're
get
my
it off.
wife." Yeah. She can't get it off. She's
Interesting.
pretty much under his spell now at that point. And
Yeah.
he straight up is just like, "You cannot see anybody else." Meaning
Oh,
our boy Richard. But
yeah.
at first, I don't know. Also, that was kind of a weird bit because she says that, and when before he puts the ring on, she's like, "No, no, no, okay," and it's just like, well, "Okay, that didn't
Yeah,
take
it's a little
much,"
weird.
you know?
It was a
Yeah.
little weird. I
But
mean, that's always Christine in like the first and second half of the story. She's always like, no, 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 okay. Like that's always her. It's a very Stockholm syndrome story.
yeah, sounds about right. But yeah, then from there we kind of go to Christine, kind of questioning. She's at like a boarding house for all women or something like that, right? Like
I think so.
it's
Almost like
something like
she looks
that.
like she lives in a local inn or something. I can't tell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Richard comes to visit, but
Oh
she's
yeah.
super scared that Eric's gonna find out, so she won't see him.
Yeah. This
Tell,
was a weird scene.
yeah, and one of her friends is just like, "Oh, just go and talk to him. It's fine." Yeah, it's just like, oh god, no. But lurking in an alley nearby is Eric watching this dude knock on the door asking for her, and so
Right.
he gets a little butthurt. And then
Yeah.
this is kind of where I don't know. We were talking about it while we were watching it, but shortly like after this, the movie starts kind of like almost not like super falling apart, but kind of falling apart.
Yeah. It like, well, so wait, I think this is before the big masquerade scene, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, so I'll let you get into that, but like, yeah, essentially, I think this is kind of the beginning of where I don't know if there were scenes cut or something, but the film just kind of like goes into hyperspace, and I feel like a lot of things get missed that could have been tightened up.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mostly like Eric gets super mad. We do know that he sees Richard go into the place, but Richard comes out like moments
Yeah,
later.
well, because her girl gives him like a letter from Christine, and he's like,
Right.
"Oh," and I think the letter is like, "I'll see you at the masquerade ball" or something.
Right, yeah, because her
Right,
friend encouraged her to go. Or, go, it's gonna be for
right.
you. You should
Yeah, yeah,
go.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And I guess
And
Eric
it's
sees that and gets triggered.
yeah, and I don't know, he's just like raging at this point, and
Hmm.
there's not real any context to why he's super
No.
mad. He's just
Yeah.
angry.
Like we'll get there. I think after the masquerade, there's more to this like bit of the story. But like yeah, so usually he after some performance, I think where something goes wrong, and it's usually when he cuts the chandelier down from the ceiling.
That's what
Raoul
it
goes
usually
onto the
is.
roof with Christine, and they have this like lovey-dovey moment, and they sing, and Christine basically sings the one of Eric's songs to Raoul, and they get even more romantic, and then like but Eric's on the roof in like another part of it, and he hears all this, and his heart just like breaks because it was his song, and now it's being used in a different context for her to
Yeah,
get some with this dude, and then he like swears revenge on her, and
yeah.
that's
We
like
don't
the
even
end of Act One in the play.
right. Yeah, we don't even get that like at all
No,
in
that's yeah,
this.
that's what I'm saying. It's weird because it's given she's in the same like building, but her friend like meets him outside the door and gives him a letter. It's all very flimsy. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. And then we get to the awesome
Yeah,
masquerade scene.
masquerade.
Yeah, and we get a drunk Bill Nye yapping
Oh
with
yeah,
Richard. I don't know. I just like the way he played his drunkenness in the movie. It was pretty amusing.
yeah.
And then our diva is there as well.
Hmm.
And obviously Christine shows up. And, it's pretty nice set. Everyone's in fantastic costumes, all that good stuff. And then our Eric shows up with his skull mask. And
Yes,
the only scene he's wearing that mask, he looks dope at
I love that
while he
outfit.
wears it. Yeah, it was a cool costume for sure. As I was watching, I was just like, that'd be kind of a cool Halloween costume.
Oh my God,
You know what I
yeah.
mean?
The
Yeah,
masquerade, Phantom, always. I mean,
yeah.
mhm.
Oh yeah. Uh, and then we go to one of the more ridiculous kills of the movie with the diva,
Oh
where
yeah.
she's just super curious. Or well, the
Well,
Phantom
he
takes
dances with her,
Yeah, he dances with her, and they start yapping.
and she's like, "Oh, you're quite a good dancer."
Hmm. And she keeps trying to take off the mask, and he's not letting her do it.
Hmm.
And then I guess he's like, okay, let's go behind these curtains over here, and I'll let you take a look. And as she's taking it off, she sees, that who he is and how deformed he is and everything. And all of a sudden, it's just like cut back to the party. We don't know what happens to her, but like literally, it's like moments later. And there's this like some dude pouring punch for everybody, and all of a sudden, like, oh wait, no, what was the lead
Well,
up to it?
they bring
Oh, no,
out
the food, right? Yeah,
yeah. So I guess yeah, they have a big meal, several meals prepared.
right.
And I remember watching this. I'm like, oh man, I really hope like one of them is like the diva's head or something like something gnarly.
Yeah,
Also, Phantom works very quickly
yes, he
to set all
does.
this up. But what slasher doesn't? I mean, you look at any of these slasher villains; they're very quick about like orchestrating things. I mean, Michael Myers is always like setting up things pretty quickly, right?
Right,
His work.
yes. Stashing
So
bodies here and there.
that's right. Yeah, he makes like little displays. So yeah, they bring out like a big table and they're like, okay, it's time to eat. There's a banquet, and they open like one dish, and they open another, and they open the third one, and it's like a stew, and inside the stew is the head of the diva.
Yeah.
And everyone starts freaking out.
Yeah, and this guy's like with his gigantic like comical ladle is just like
It's
trying to get like some of the stew up, and then all of a sudden the head comes up with it. And yeah, and everybody freaks out. Oh my
Good
god.
shit.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then from there, Phantom snags Christine and takes him back down to the crypt.
And like you said, he's pissed now.
Yeah, and he's just full-fledged mad. And then we got our boy, the detective, Biff, and Richard, and then I think some like red shirt cop that just ends up
definitely
dying, like real quick.
Yeah.
They decide to go underneath the opera house and try to find. Oh, that's the other bit.
We forgot the rat catcher guy.
The rat man. Yeah. There's this rat dude that keeps rats out of his crypt, out of Eric's crypt, and he like doesn't kill him. He lets him live, and he lurks in the sewers with him.
Yeah.
And somehow the detectives overhear him talking about Eric and knowing where he stays and all that stuff. So they rope him in too to like show us where he lives, and they all go down into the sewers and stuff. And then they get the bright idea of splitting up, and and then that's where pretty much the cop dies super quick. And then the Biff dude has a moment where all of a sudden he's getting like
he has a long stretch of time. Yeah. Well, because I think Eric, it's always like labyrinthian. His like catacombs. He like and I think he like maneuvers around. He's like he picks them off pretty quick. He's basically just like fucking with them. He's playing with his food, and he particularly singles out Biff. That goes on for a while. I will say that sequence like took a long time, and it wasn't like I'm sorry, it wasn't scary or like exciting. So it just was like, okay, we know Biff is gonna die. You just kill him off.
Yeah.
And I think he kills Biff, but then does the inspector get through? Like eventually they find his like main room. I remember like we were watching and we were confused about like the order of things because at some point he's like hunting them and staying on target and he's really on top. Right. And then the next cut and he's like, oh, he's back to Christine, who like falls against the side of a wall and like knocks herself out at some point too. Yeah. It's weird.
Yeah, so he kills the Biff dude. Then he kills the rat guy for
where his lair is. That was great though. That was good though.
And then you hear him, I think, like laugh because the other two guys, Richard and the main detective dude, they went like a separate way, and they're more closer, I guess, to his crypt. And you hear laughing, and they literally make a note like he's stalking us.
Yeah.
And then literally they cut back to Eric, and he's just in his crypt.
He's back in the lair. Yeah.
Yeah, he's just chilling with Christine. He's just like I disposed of everybody.
Right. It was like, bro, you didn't finish the job. Like, what are you doing?
He just gets on his organ and starts playing.
Yeah.
And then eventually, the detective and Richard find the door and they knock it down, and pretty much the last sequence in the crypt starts up, which is a fiery, awesome kind of little bit. Yeah, so at first, I'm trying to remember, Richard dies. I remember that. I was like, whoa! You'd think the Lovelaces would live.
Yeah, he fights him. I think even Christine jumps in at one point because Richard can't like take on the Phantom. Right. The inspector gets like badly hurt, but he's not dead because at a later point, I think he shoots the Phantom.
He does,
or something. Like he gets a lucky shot in. I just wanted to go back to. It's funny because the rat catcher guy. They have some funny dialogue between him and the Phantom. Right. And he's like, "You can't kill me. I'll keep the rats out of your lair." And the Phantom, like, he says something. He's like, "Well," it's like, "I lead them away." And he's like, "Well, then lead them to eternity." And he like picks them up,
sticks them to the wall.
Yeah.
Oh god.
That was good. That was good.
The best.
It was funny because we were confused because I think you first see the rat catcher. I think like right when she initially gets taken the first time into his like lair. But it cuts from like the carriage to the rat catcher in the sewers, and you and I are like, why are we seeing this rat catcher guy?
Who is this guy? Yeah.
He doesn't come back till later.
because he's
Yeah.
just like collecting rats and like singing
Yeah.
something. It's just like, what the hell is going
Yeah.
on? And then it cuts to them, and there's like no reference for this dude until like later in the movie where he talks about how he cleans the sewers for him, and it's
At
like,
the masquerade.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and it's like, oh, that's the point of this guy,
Right. Okay. I get it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just thought it was just like random throwaway character. I mean, he kind of is, but at least he
He
had a little
was.
bit of a point. Yeah.
Yeah. I think he's from the novel. But yeah, so then, yeah, it's this big final fight in the Phantom's lair.
Yep. Richard gets stabbed.
Yeah.
But he also gets a lucky shot in, and that's how you know the Phantom can get hurt. And then once Richard's dead,
Oh yeah, Christine freaks out.
Starts freaking out and starts pretty much setting the whole layer ablaze.
Yeah.
Which was a pretty cool sequence. And then that's when the detective comes to and just starts pumping bullets into him again. Yeah, and eventually...
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Because they don't even show them escape. All of a sudden, she
Well,
gets knocked out again,
She
right? Or the
no,
mirror
I
breaks?
think she takes like a candelabra or something and like hurls it into like a giant mirror that's down there, and that breaks. And just like in the New York City opening scene, that brings her out of that timeline, and it has like these close-ups on Robert Englund's eyes. He's like, Christine, don't go, come back to me,
Right.
and then the transition. That transition was kind of nuts the way they did that. Like,
Right.
I'll give them credit because the transitions are pretty crazy. It goes like on get like really high all of a sudden. The film it just like it gets crazy, and then she ends up. But yeah, so I guess we don't know if she burns down
Yeah.
a layer or what happens really. I mean, I guess you assume because that point's pretty fiery.
Right. Yeah, and it's kind of like, well, if she got knocked down and the mirror's broken, there's no way out. Do they all
Yeah.
burn down there? Even the detective? They don't know. We don't know what happens to him either. It's like,
What if Richard survived and he's like Christine, and then the fire takes him?
oh God, no! No,
Like there
no,
might have had a
Richard.
chance. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, then she wakes up. She's back in New York.
Right.
Everyone's just kind of hovering over her, like, "Whoa, are you all right?" Because she's still, I don't know, who knows how long she's been knocked out for. And then we get Eric again, but modern age Eric. At this point, we don't know that it's Eric.
Yeah.
But we just get, Robert Englund potentially as another character come up.
He's got like a ponytail. It's really cute.
that ponytail. Oh God. He comes in and he's just like, "Get away from the star, like let her breathe," kind of thing. And she's all confused, like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "You got the part. You sang so well."
Yeah.
Then he invites her, and this is like at this point, I think you and I both were like, "Oh, the movie should be over now." And then it's like, no, wait, there's 5 more minutes actually.
Yeah, more than that. I thought it was like 15 or something. Yeah, we thought, like maybe the film would just end ironically, and like they'll have a moment where she's like, "Is that Eric? I can't tell," and then just end on a kind of sinister, mysterious note. But no, he's like, "Oh yeah, no, we need to celebrate. You got the part. Come over to my place tonight, and we'll have some drinks, and then we'll go out on the town or something."
Right? Yeah. Like let your what is it? Agent. Let your agent figure out the details with my guy. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And have a drink.
Molly
with
Shannon.
Me. Yeah.
Yes.
Molly Shannon again. Yeah, and then we jump cut to their place or his place.
Yeah, it's got a nice place.
Yeah, super nice apartment. It's crazy. I forget what he glanced, and this is how we find out it's Eric again. Is that like he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go make another drink" or something like that, and he looks in the mirror, and part of his skin is rotting or something like that.
Well, we didn't really talk that much about.
Oh yeah.
The whole thing with the mask, like in this movie, and the skin.
Yeah, so the whole thing with his mask is that like he pretty much skins his victims and sews their skin onto the parts that are all deformed on his face, and that is like a flesh mask, kind of like Leatherface's.
Yeah, somehow he's able to like make it more almost like Clayface.
Yeah,
more like perfect. Because obviously, you look at Leatherface, like, okay, this guy is just wearing someone else's skin, like it's fucked up, but you could tell it's like hanging off. But he does it like pretty perfectly.
Yeah, he puts makeup all over it. Like essentially, I remember during a special feature thing that we watched. Robert Englund talked about how he wanted Eric to be beautiful, even though he was like horribly deformed and
Ah,
everything. Yeah, so clearly, he's in the theater. He probably knows how to do makeup and
uh,
stuff. So he dolls himself up every time we see Eric's face.
mhm.
Except for throughout the course of the movie, there are certain moments where the flesh that he has on his face begins to rot, and there is a bit where he's like cutting it off and sewing
Yeah,
on another one.
yeah.
So at the end of the movie, that's happening to this guy, obviously Eric, and he's like, "Oh, I'll be right back," and he disappears into his bedroom.
Yeah,
And then he has like this state of the
yeah,
art, almost like
yeah.
dark man pre-made masks.
It's Dark Man.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, he has like a hidden shelf, and he opens it up, and like something slides out, and it's very like Darkman or Batman. Like there's like a white light that like lights up from the bottom, and he has
Right.
like these three different like Mission Impossible head things, and he just takes it on and puts it on his, and like yeah, so yeah, so that's a big moment because it's like, oh, I mean, I guess it's pretty kind of predictable, but like it is Eric somehow, and he's refined this technology.
Right,
I
yeah.
don't know.
This face swapping technology.
Yeah.
Yeah. But meanwhile, while that's all happening,
Oh yeah.
Christine stumbles upon his studio in this apartment.
Yeah,
And,
it's computer tech.
yeah, his high tech stuff, and she plays like one of the songs that are on
On
the
a floppy
recorder.
disk.
Oh no, yeah, no, yeah. She puts in the floppy disk. Oh boy, and if the music plays, and then it happens to be the song
Don Juan
the
Triumphant.
Don Juan song, yeah. And then all of a sudden, it's like she remembers her past life, and she remembers who Eric is, and she's just like, "Oh crap!" Right?
Yeah, and then he comes right in,
Mm-hmm.
and then I think like they have like a line or two, but she's like more prepared this time, and she just like yanks the fucking skin off of his head and just like pulls
Yeah.
it all off. That was pretty grisly. That was pretty crazy.
Yeah, and then when they show his face, it obviously looks like a lot more like Freddy, because
Freddy, yeah.
apparently he got horribly burned from the fire in the crypt,
I guess so.
because his face was just like super dark and burnt, and he's just like, "Oh, you need me, and you're mine in every timeline," kind of weird thing.
Yeah.
And she's not having it. She grabs some sheet music, takes the floppy.
Yep.
I think, did she destroy the computer area? I don't remember.
I forgot how she does she stab him or something?
She does stab him,
She
yeah.
gets incapacitated where he can't get up. Like she
Yeah.
gets away.
Yeah. And like she runs down the street,
This was funny.
run down the New York streets, and she just like rips the sheet music once, throws it into the sewer, and then just like
With the disc.
drops the disc in, and it's just like, whoop, that's
I
that.
guess
and
that's
walks
it.
away. Yeah.
And then it cuts to him and he's like, ah! And
Yeah,
I guess he did like die. I guess his music died.
Died.
Right.
Because we'll go into that here in a moment.
Yeah,
but,
sure.
But then she's walking away thinking all is okay, and then we get this mysterious, pretty much like shadow dude with a violin playing
A street performer.
Yeah, street performer playing the song that he created.
Uh-oh.
And she hears it and turns around. You never see the dude's face or anything like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
But then roll credits and the movie ends, and it's
Yay.
like, oh, okay, yeah, I mean, not too shabby. But apparently, there were plans for a sequel, and a script was already written, and they were supposed to just delve right into making it, but that obviously didn't happen. But yeah, if you want to go into a little of like those details.
Yeah. Well, I guess before we even do that, like what were your overall thoughts, like your
Overall
initial takeaway on the film?
Yeah, overall, generally, I liked it.
Yeah.
It's probably not something I'll watch super often, but I was amused by it. I had fun with it, probably because you and I were kind of just joking around while we were watching it.
Yeah.
Just making fun of it, but in a good way. Like nothing too bad.
No.
Yeah, I really dug the cinematography across the board.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, set design was really great. And pretty much once we got into the past, everything just looked super gorgeous when it came to the cinematography. Acting, hit and miss with some of the actors.
Yeah.
Some of it, they're in England, and some of them don't even have English accents.
Robert Englund doesn't have, I remember you said, British accent.
Yeah, he does not at all. But I don't know. I just had fun, you know. So I was like, all right, I give it probably like a solid, 7.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with you. It was fun. I'd wanted to see it for a long time. I think somewhere there was almost like a Mandela effect thing happening in my head, where I thought Dario Argento partnered with Robert Englund and they did a Phantom of the Opera because Argento did in like the late 70s and in the early 80s. He did a Phantom of the Opera adaptation, and he also did a film just called Opera, or I think it's Inferno. Am I getting
Okay.
mixed
Yeah.
up with my Argento? I don't know. He did opera horror films. So
Hmm.
I thought, I guess that like, oh, Robert Englund and Dario, this is gonna be crazy. And it's like, oh, it's Dwight H. Little who directed Halloween 4. Nothing to take away from Dwight, but it's just like it's not the same. But yeah, so I remember just like this is it. I was excited when I heard about the Blu-ray. I saw a trailer and I was into it. And overall, yeah, it was fun. It's a solid 7. There are flaws we can get into, but there are some things I really liked about it. Like you said, I don't think I'll be watching it again again for a while
Hmm.
or super often at all. But like I would throw it on with groups with some friends or something. It was a fun film to watch, and I think it did more right than it did wrong. But as a Phantom of the Opera adaptation, I guess it's pretty unique. I do want to see the Dario Argento one now to see how that compares in terms of like really like gory horror Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah.
But like yeah, I thought I've seen the musical more times than I probably should, and I own the 2004 Joe Schumacher film on
Nice.
digital as a guilty pleasure. So yeah, I mean, I have a soft spot in my heart for Phantom of the Opera, and this was a fun, interesting interpretation that, like I said at the beginning, it tries a lot, and I don't know if it all succeeds. I think it. Part of me is like, I don't know if you need to do the past and future thing, but like you said, with the plans for the sequel, that kind of makes more sense why they did that because really the film is kind of like setting up that what
Yeah.
the sequel would have been.
Right. So the sequel apparently would have taken place shortly after the events of the first one, and it would have just stayed all in New York in the
Yeah,
80s, or I guess
Terror in Manhattan, I think it was called or something.
okay, yeah, or I guess early 90s at that point because it was made in 89. Either way, yeah, and it's all about how Eric survives and I guess stumbles upon that street performer and likes the way they do their music and then pretty much takes them under their wing to
Hmm.
learn his music. And apparently it would have been another kind of like modern day goth love story or something like that. But yeah, it sounds kind of wild. I probably would have checked it out. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
What are your thoughts on
yeah,
that?
it sounds pretty cool. I definitely would have checked it out. I mean, looking at the final cut of this movie, what we ended up getting, it's not like that surprising that that didn't get greenlit.
Right.
And yeah, like Robert Englund, I was seemed very excited about it. Like he went on for decades doing interviews talking about it, and he seemed very much into it. I mean, who wouldn't be? But like, it did sound like a better film in some ways than what this was. And I think it all came from they brought on a TV screenwriter named Duke Sanfor
Mm.
who to add on like these bookend segments to Jerry O'Hara's script of this film,
Right.
and the bookend segments remain in the finished film despite the lack of a sequel. But I think also that I read that in 1991, Fangoria magazine noted that what was meant to be the sequel film ended up becoming 1992's Dance Macabre, which also starred Robert Englund. And Dance Macabre follows an American dancer at an academy in St. Petersburg where a series of murders and disappearances begin to occur. So, in some way, I guess that's the script kind of got morphed into that. That's kind of
Nice.
interesting.
Nice. I was unaware of that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that almost about wraps it up. I just want to know what your favorite death was in the movie.
Well, I do like the stagehand death a lot because I mean, particularly like there's a he like almost like fillets him open as he's like he like ties him to something, right? And then he like starts
Yeah.
rising up, and as he's rising up, he like cuts his whole gut and body open, and he's just splattered with blood. And that was
Right.
pretty crazy. And they have this like shot where he's just like really almost orgasmic with it, and that was kind of funny. But
Totally.
I think my favorite, there are some fun deaths. I will say, like for a horror film, there's some fun deaths in this movie. There
Yeah.
really are. Each one is pretty good. I think my favorite death is probably the one at the masquerade, Carlotta's head,
Yes.
Carlotta stew. That was fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
With you.
Uh, yeah, I mean, mine. I have two of them. Well, mine is
Okay.
definitely the skinned alive dude for sure. Like,
Yeah.
because I just was not expecting. I was expecting Eric to pop out of that closet, not a
Yeah.
flayed dude. You know what I mean? So I was like, oh, okay. But that and the rat guy, the rat dude.
Oh yeah, Ratcatcher had a good death too.
Ratcatcher.
Yeah.
I don't know, just because of the whole like dialogue exchange just before he dies, just really made me laugh, and it's just like, oh god, and then just onto the wall. I was like, yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, outside of that, I think that about wraps it up. I just want to thank Alex for joining me tonight, and you know, if you're feeling up to it after watching this, check out this flick, Phantom of the Opera, with Robert Englund.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Until next time, guys, take it easy.
Keep it tight.